I'm going back live. And that's George Ezra, Budapest. Love a bit of George Ezra. And coming up, we've got Feelings, John Newman, and It Ain't Love, Jason Derulo, I think that says. Yeah, I don't know whether I've mentioned this before. I'm as blind as a bat. I have two different pairs of glasses, and I have to keep swapping and changing them for near and far. And yeah, if I forget to put the right ones on, I can't see what I'm reading half the time. But anyway, I divulge, I go off piece. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about overthinking and maybe some hints and tips about what we can do if we're overthinking. Because as I said, I spent quite a bit of the last week overthinking one thing or another. I planned a wonderful 4-day breakaway with my wonderful children, Michelle and Kai, and my grandson Alfie, and my son-in-law Johnny, and we flew to Paris, Disneyland. Absolutely amazing. I would recommend it to anybody. Loved it. But the flight caused some wonderful thoughts of every eventuality that you could possibly imagine. And to start off with, I was caught unawares. One of the things I was talking about earlier on with somebody, not on air, was that sometimes people have these wonderful thoughts about what a therapist is like, that therapists have all their stuff together and we're all sorted and we don't have issues. And I want to shatter that illusion and say we do. We're human just like everybody else, and we have issues, and life throws us a curveball, and we've got to find a way through that, and sometimes it's wading through treacle. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that, you know, if you do see a therapist, it's important that you build up a really good relationship with them. I'm quite open and transparent with the clients that I see. They know things about my personal life. Some therapists don't like sharing that, but I think if I've got something that can help them that I've been through, then I'm happy to discuss that. So I've talked quite a bit about flying and thoughts and overthinking, and the run up to the flight, probably about a week, I was having what I call whooshes. I don't class myself as being an anxious person, but I do have anxiety now and then because I'm human, and we will all have periods where we get anxious about certain things. So that's important to bear in mind. If I have a client that comes to me and says, I suffer from anxiety and I want to stop feeling anxious, the first thing I say to them is, I can't do that. You're human, and there are going to be periods in your life where you do have anxious thoughts and anxious feelings. But it's about not letting that take over, or that being your only focus. So I kind of said that I was apprehensive about the flight as opposed to saying I was anxious about it. But that's just a word. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. But for the week up to it, I was getting what I refer to as whooshes. I'd be sat watching television, and then I'd think I need to start packing. Whoosh. And then I'd be at Tesco thinking, oh, I need to get some sun cream. Whoosh. And I just had a rush of adrenaline every so often when I had a fleeting thought about the flight. So I started to get, I laughed at it because I wasn't actually on the flight, and it was like 5 days beforehand, and yet I was having all these feelings about the flight when I was walking around Tesco and absolutely perfectly safe. And then I started to get really curious about what was I actually scared of. And I don't know. That's the funny thing. When I try to rationalise it, I think if flying was scary, then everybody who got on a flight will be scared. They're not. There's just certain people that have certain thoughts and fears about flying. So what is it? Is it going away from home? I'm like, no, I go away from home quite often. Is it being up in the air? Well, yeah, I don't do that very often. But it was all the what ifs. So one of the things that I say to clients quite a lot of the time is to use full stops instead of commas, which sounds, what's grammar got to do with therapy and mental health and things? If I said I'm scared of flying, full stop, the thought actually ends after the full stop. But if I go on and overthink it and say things like I'm scared of flying, and what if I get lost in the airport, and what if something happens, and what if there's a delay and I miss my train at the other end, and what if, and what if, and what if. I've put lots and lots of commas after the initial thought, which then starts to be overwhelming, and I'm overthinking, and I get caught up in this whole spiral of thinking and feeling about a certain thing. So yeah, try using full stops and see whether that helps stop the process of overthinking. So that's my first tip. And I need somebody to show me how to have a button. I want a top tip of the day button that I want to start ringing, and that's my top tip for today, is to use full stops instead of commas when you have a fear or a thought that you don't particularly like. I'll be back soon. See, I need to change my glasses. I don't know what I'm doing. Mark's put, I think sometimes we can just be scared of something new. Exactly. Yeah, well done, Mark. And the other thing I came up with that I might talk about later is that it's not the thing that's scary, it's the thoughts about the thing that are scary. And all the thoughts come from us. Planes aren't scary, they're just lumps of metal, that's it. There's nothing scary about them. But it's when we start thinking about the what ifs. So yeah, using full stops instead of full, lots of commas can sometimes help. But yeah, I just get really curious about my fears and other people's fears and what being human means and what works and what doesn't. So not judgmental, just curious. And I laughed so much. It was ridiculous, some of the thoughts I was having. And it's quite funny because my son's actually an airplane technician. He fixes aeroplanes. So yeah, I was saying to him, mind you, having said that, those Mac whatevers that they've grounded, he did say to me, don't get on one of them, Mum. So luckily we didn't, and they've all been grounded. I did check with him before I set off. I said, are they flying again? Because I'm not getting on it if it's one of them. But they're not. But yeah, that's by the by. So I shall be back again soon. Nice to have you joining me, Louise, and I think Marie's watching, and thanks for commenting, Mark. Speak soon.